Good morning. Last week we started discussing monopolistic competition, which is session 5, and we discussed the features of monopolistic competition. As we learned, there are many number of sellers in monopolistic competition, and specifically certain group of buyers are attached to certain sellers in monopolistic competition. For example, beauty salons, clothing stores, fast food restaurants, likewise. And the products are, most of the time, they are differentiated or they are heterogeneous. Product from one seller is slightly different from others. And there are some entry and exit barriers in the long run. As always, the goal of a monopolistic firm is to maximize profits. And then we learned what do we mean by differentiated products. It's about similar products but not identical. So there are slight changes between products, but they satisfy the same basic need. The differentiation can be real or imaginary. For example, in terms of cement, we cannot consider it. Sometimes, even though the product or the service is the same, people think that they are different. But sometimes real differences are there. And also, the differentiation can come from the location or service. Apart from location and service, there are some other areas where differentiation can happen. For example, ingredients, quality of the product, quality or standards, quality standards received by the product. Some suppliers may not have received any quality standard like SLS, but some producers may have such standard certifications. So that also can act as a way of differentiation. Quality, size, ingredients, certifications, location, service, customer service, and after-sales services. So those are the areas in which differentiation can be done. And monopolistic competition consists of two elements basically. One is coming from perfect competition. Monopolistic competition is closer to perfect competition because of this characteristic that there are a large number of sellers in the market. So in perfect competition also there is a large number of sellers in the market. In monopolistic competition also we have a large number of sellers in the market. So in that sense, monopolistic competition is closer to perfect competition. And the monopoly element of monopolistic competition is product differentiation. Even though the product is slightly different from one seller to another, the uniqueness creates a certain monopoly power over the monopolistically competitive firm. Even though there is only a slight difference between products, it is just about a slight difference, not completely different. The products are slightly different, not completely. So even though it's just a slight difference that creates a differentiation between products from one seller to another, that slight differentiation is enough. That slight differentiation is enough to create some sort of monopoly power over the monopolistically competitive firm. Because of that uniqueness, they have a loyal customer group for them. So over that customer group, the monopolistically competitive firm has a monopoly power. And one important thing about monopolistic competition is we cannot study the market. As you learned in perfect competition, we had different analysis, one for the market and one for the firm. In perfect competition, we showed how the market price is determined. When the downward sloping demand curve and upward sloping supply curve, when they are intersecting, the market supply curve is determined in perfect competition. And then we told that the market equilibrium price is taken by each individual firm in perfect competition. So then we analyzed the behavior of individual firms in perfect competition. When it comes to monopoly, we learned that both the market and the firm are the same. Therefore, studying the market or studying the firm does not have any difference. So, both market and the firm can be shown in the same analysis. But when it comes to monopolistic competition, we cannot analyze the market using curves and diagrams. Why is that? Because we cannot derive market demand curve for monopolistic competition. We can't derive the market demand curve for monopolistic competition. Why is that? What is the reason for that? It also comes from product differentiation. Because of product differentiation, we cannot derive the market demand for monopolistic competition. Each firm produces a slightly differentiated product. That's what we understood by product differentiation. Because of differentiation, each firm faces a unique demand curve. Each firm faces a unique demand curve. So products are different. If the products are unique, if the product is unique, that means every producer produces a unique product, an identical product. Then we can derive the market demand curve by taking horizontal summation of firms' demand curves because their product is unique. So that is what we do in perfect competition. So we can do this in perfect competition. But in monopolistic competition, products are unique. Products are slightly differentiated. We can add individual firms demand curve. We can add individual firms demand curve to derive the market demand curve only when the product is unique. Since the products are not unique in monopolistic competition, we cannot add individual firms demand curves together. We cannot add individual firms demand curves together to derive the market demand curve, because the product produced by firm A is different from the product produced by firm B. Product produced by firm B is different from the product produced by firm C. Product produced by firm C is different from the product produced by firm B. So because they are different, we cannot add them together to derive the market demand. This is not possible. Therefore, we solely restrict our analysis to firm. We solely restrict our analysis to a firm, not to the market. We don't analyze, we are not going to analyze the market of monopolistic competition. Instead, we will rely on a specific firm to analyze how it behaves in the short run and in the long run. Since a firm produces a differentiated product, the demand curve it faces is negatively sloped. Yes, demand curve is. Then now we are going to analyze a specific firm, an individual firm in monopolistic competition. In monopolistic competition, an individual firm a monopolistically competitive firm faces a downward sloping demand curve because it has some power to control the price. The monopolistically competitive firm has some power to control the price or set the price. Because their product is unique. Since they have some power to control or to set the price, their demand curve is downward sloping. This power comes from the uniqueness of the product. Power comes from because the product is unique. So they can control the price. Because they have control over the price, their demand curve is downward sloping. Since there are many close substitutes, even though their product is unique, even though their product is different from others, there are many close substitutes. In the market. even though their product is different, even though their product is unique, there are many close substitutes in the market. Therefore, the demand curve a monopolistically competitive firm faces is relatively elastic. Relatively elastic. It's relatively elastic. It's flatter. Relatively flatter. It's relatively flatter. It's flatter. Not steeper. It's not steeper like this. It's flatter. The price elasticity of demand is higher. Yes. Relatively elastic means price elasticity of demand is higher. Yes, of course, it lies between 1 and infinity. Price elasticity of demand is greater than 1 and below 0. At the same time, price elasticity is very high. Very high. Price elasticity of demand is very high. And this is even more high. This is very, very high. The price elasticity of demand will be very high when the product differentiation is less. When product differentiation is less, when the degree of product differentiation is smaller, price elasticity of demand is very high. Very high. It's very much closer to, it takes a large number. Because when product differentiation is smaller, that means a smaller change in price will cause customers to shift to other firms. So when product differentiation is smaller means the products produced by firms, the product produced by other firms are very close substitutes of this particular firm. That means products produced by other firms are almost identical, not identical, but almost identical to the product of this firm. When product differentiation is very small, the products of other firms will be almost identical. but not perfectly identical. Since other firms are producing almost identical products, even a very small increase, not a change, even a very small increase, is enough for the customers to shift to other firms, because other firms are producing almost an identical product, like the firm we consider. So products are almost the same. Very, very slight differences are there. Therefore, when product differentiation is smaller, when the degree of product differentiation is smaller, even a very small increase in price is enough for the customers to shift to other firms who are producing an almost identical product. Since the demand curve is negatively sloped and linear, the corresponding marginal curve is below it. As we learned in monopoly, when the demand curve is downward sloping, its marginal revenue curve is below the demand curve, and marginal revenue curve is twice steeper than the demand curve. As you learned in monopoly, when demand curve is downward sloping, marginal revenue curve lies below the demand curve, but it is twice steeper than the demand curve. So this difference here and here, the gap is the same. Gap will be the same. So marginal revenue curve is below the demand curve, and MR is twice steeper than demand curve. The same characteristic is there with monopolistically competitive firms as well. In monopoly, we learned that demand curve is downward sloping and the marginal revenue curve is below the demand curve, and marginal revenue curve is twice steeper than the demand curve. Similarly, in monopolistic competition, similarly in the case of a monopolistically competitive firm as well, we have the same observation. The demand curve is downward sloping and the marginal revenue curve is twice steeper than the demand curve. So that is about the demand curve of a monopolistically competitive firm. So let's move on to the short-run analysis of a monopolistically competitive firm. Here we are going to discuss how a monopolistically competitive firm maximizes profits in the short run. How a monopolistically competitive firm maximizes profits in the long run. In other words, how a monopolistically competitive firm reaches its short run equilibrium. First, draw the demand curve. It's relatively elastic. Relatively elastic. And then the marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue curve. And then you can draw the cost curves. Marginal cost. Average cost. So this is our pitch. This is almost similar to a case of a monopoly. This is almost same to a case of monopoly. The only difference comes from the relatively elastic demand curve. Relatively elastic demand curve. This is about a monopolistically competitive curve. This is not about monopolistic competition. This is not about the market. This is about a firm, not about the market. So where the profit maximization occurs, where do we find the profit maximizing output level? As similar to our previous discussions, there should be two conditions satisfied. One is MR should be equal to MC, and the second condition should be the slope of MC should be greater than the slope of MR. So if these two conditions are satisfied, then we have the profit maximization. So where MR equal MC condition is satisfied, it's here. So at this point, profit maximization, the first condition is satisfied. MR is equal to MC. And check whether the second condition is satisfied. Slope of marginal cost should be greater than slope of marginal revenue. Yes, you observe marginal cost is increasing. Marginal cost is increasing, so its slope is positive. Its slope is positive. Marginal revenue is downward sloping. Marginal revenue is downward sloping, so its slope is negative. The positive value is greater than negative value. Therefore, the second condition is also satisfied. So here it says at the equilibrium MC equals MR and MC is increasing. So if MC is increasing, you can elaborate it like this. Slope of MC is greater than slope of MR. So rather than the same thing is implied here because always MR is negative. Always MR is negative. But MC can take a negative slope as well as positive slope. So therefore, this MC is increasing condition implies the second condition. This is the complete condition. This is also correct. If we say that the second condition is MC is increasing, MC should be increasing, it implies this condition. It's not correct to say that the second condition is to have an increasing MC because MR is always decreasing. MR is always decreasing. So if we have, if the profit maximizing condition lies somewhere on the increasing part of MC, then the second condition automatically is satisfied. And so this is profit maximizing output level, Q star. Then what is the price? What is the price? What is the profit maximizing price? To find the price, you have to go straight to the demand curve. You have to go straight to the demand curve and then find the price. This is the profit maximizing price level or equilibrium price level. So equilibrium occurs here. This is equilibrium output level of the firm. This is the equilibrium price of the firm. And where is the profit? How do we mark the profit? To find the profit, you have to identify average cost at profit maximizing output level. So you have to go straight to the average cost curve starting from the profit maximizing output level. So go straight to the average cost and find the average cost at profit maximizing output level. So this is the average cost. You can see price is greater than average cost at profit maximizing output level. P is greater than average cost. Then what type of profit is there? Is it economic profit, economic losses, or a normal profit? There is an economic profit. There is an economic profit because price is greater than the average cost. Price is greater than the average cost. A monopolistically competitive firm also can earn an economic loss. Also, a monopolistically competitive firm can earn normal profits in the long run. So all these types of profits are possible for a monopolistically competitive firm in the short run. A monopolistically competitive firm can earn an economic profit or an economic loss or a normal profit in the short run. So in the short run, all these options are possible. All these types of profits are possible in the short run. If the average cost is very high, then there will be an economic loss. Let's say the average cost lies somewhere here. Still, we have the same output level as the profit maximizing output level, equilibrium output level. And the price level is the same. But the average cost is how much? Average cost is here. Now, average cost is greater than the price, so there is an economic loss. Then change the graph to show how this monopolistically competitive firm earn normal profits in the short run. Show it in the graph. a situation of normal profit. If the average curve lies somewhere here, then there will be average, the normal profits. Still, the equilibrium output level is the same. Still, the equilibrium price level is the same. At this profit maximizing output level, what is average cost? Average cost is this much. So price and average cost are equal. Average cost curve is tangent to the demand curve at this point where the profit maximization output level is. Average cost curve is tangent to the demand curve at this point, so that at profit maximizing output level, we observe that price and average cost both are the same, so there is a normal profit. There is a normal profit. Or in other words, the firm is at the break-even level. Break-even level. No profits, no losses. Economic profits are zero. Economic profits are zero. So it's at the break-even point. So all these three circumstances are possible for a perfectly competitive firm in the short run. This graph shows only a situation where the firm is earning an economic profit, but earning an economic loss or earning normal profits are also possible for a perfectly competitive firm, monopolistically competitive firm in the short run. Then let's discuss something about the long run analysis. In long run, what happens is, let's say in the short run, the firm is earning an economic profit. In the short run, the firm is earning an economic profit. Price is greater than average cost, so the firm is earning economic profits. The profit area is this. Okay. The profit area is this. If you want to quantify the profit, the difference between price and average cost multiplied by Q star. You have to take the difference between P star and AC and multiply that difference by Q star, and this way area will be the profit. This is the profit. When it is an economic loss, AC is this much. Take the difference between P star and AC, and this area will show. This area will show the loss. This area will show the loss. In the case of normal profits, we can't show a profit area or a loss area because profit is zero. So in the case of normal profits, we cannot show the profit area or the loss area. We can show the profit area this way because price is higher than average cost. So this the gap between P star and AC multiplied by Q star will show the profit area. When it comes to economic losses, the gap between AC and P star multiplied by Q star, this area will account for the economic losses. Economic losses. So let's assume in the short run, the firm is earning an economic profit. Let's assume in the short run, the firm is earning economic profits like this. So similarly, some other firms in the industry also are earning economic profits. So if monopolistically competitive firms are earning economic profits in the short run, what happens is new firms are attracted to the industry. New firms are attracted to the industry. New firms will enter the industry because they are attracted by economic profits. They are attracted by economic profits. Then in the long run, what happens is, in the long run, because new entrants have entered the market, because new firms have entered the market, several changes happen in the market. One is there will be a large number substitutes than in the short run. In the long run, there will be a large number of substitutes than in the short run because new firms have entered the market. New firms have entered the market because they were attracted by the economic profits in the short run. Since there is a large number of sellers in the long run, there will be a large number of substitutes than in the short run. Therefore, the demand curve becomes even more elastic, the demand curve becomes very elastic than in the short run. So in the short run, the demand curve is elastic. Yes, it is true. But when it comes to the short run, when it comes to the long run, this becomes even more elastic. The demand curve becomes even more elastic. In the long run, the demand curve faced by an individual monopolistically competitive firm will be even more elastic than in the short run. And also, market share of the firm, of an individual firm, will decrease in the long run. That is also clear from this graph. So let's think about this price, a specific price. At this price, in the short run, how much this firm supplied? This firm provided this much, Q1, in the short run. But in the long run, how much they will supply? Only this much, Q2. So at each price, the quantity provided, the quantity satisfied by this firm also has decreased. At this price, in the short run, the firm supplied this much. But in the long run, at the same price, they can provide only this much. That is because the market share has decreased for this individual firm. So both these changes happen because of new entrants, because of new firms who have entered the market in the long run after getting attracted by the economic profits they had in the short run. So in the long run, what happens is, if you want to take some pictures, you can take them, because the recording, it will not clearly capture the board. Finish. The demand curve is very flattened This is the marginal revenue curve. This is marginal cost curve, and this is average cost curve. Profit maximizing output level happens here, Q star, in the long run. And both conditions are satisfied here, MR equal MC, and also MC, the slope of MC is higher than the slope of MR. And at this output level, this is the price. So equilibrium price and quantity are these. Then what about the average cost at equilibrium output level? Average cost also lies here. So price and average cost both are the same here. That means in the long run, the monopolistically competitive firm earns normal profits. In the long run, monopolistically competitive firms earn normal profits. Normal profits only. In the long run, monopolistically competitive firms will not earn economic profits or economic losses. They will earn only normal profits. Firms break even and produce on the negatively sloped portion of their long run average cost. This is long run average cost. Long run average cost and long run marginal cost. Firms break even and produce on the negatively sloped portion of their long run average cost curve. Like this. That is about the long run equilibrium of a monopolistically competitive firm. Now we are going to compare monopolistic competition and perfect competition. So this is the picture of monopolistic competition. Are they operating at the minimum point of long run average cost? This is the minimum point of long run average cost. This is where the optimum scale, Q, that is the optimum scale. Optimum scale of production in the long run is where the long run average cost is minimum. If a firm can operate at the minimum point of the long run average cost curve, then we can say that firm is operating at the minimum at the optimum scale, under the optimum scale. If a firm is operating at the minimum point of the long run average cost curve, then that firm is utilizing the optimum scale. Then that firm is utilizing the optimum scale. That is the optimum size of the firm. Is this firm operating at the minimum point? No. Still they can go further. They are not operating at the minimum point. They are operating here. And optimum scale lies here. So they are operating with some excess capacity. In the long run, this monopolistically competitive firm produces Q star level only. But if they can increase the scale, from Q star to Q O level, they can reduce the average cost to the minimum level. This is where long run average cost is minimum. They still have some space. To decrease the long run average cost by expanding their size. So the gap between QO and Q star, is an excess capacity that this firm has not yet utilized. The firm has some excess capacity. They can increase output little bit more while decreasing the long run average cost to reach the optimum scale. But still this firm has not reached the optimum scale. Instead, they operate before that. They operate before the optimum scale. So the gap between the optimum scale and the profit maximizing output level, that gap is called the excess capacity that this firm has not yet fully utilized. Also, this optimum scale can be identified as the output level with productive efficiency. That is the output level with production efficiency. At the optimum scale, the production efficiency is also satisfied. Production efficiency is there where long run average cost is minimum. Production efficiency condition is the minimum point of long run average cost. If a firm is operating at the minimum point of long run average cost, then production efficiency is there. So rather than operating here, the firm can increase its output. The firm can increase its output until the optimum scale or until the output level where production efficiency is. So since they haven't reached the optimum scale or the output level where production efficiency is, we say that they are operating with some excess capacity. They are operating with some excess capacity. They still have the possibility to decrease average cost by increasing the output and to reach the optimum scale. This is about the monopolistic competition equilibrium in the long run. So let's think about the perfect competition parallel to this and assume this long run average cost and long run marginal cost are identical here as well. So we have the same marginal cost and same long run average cost like here. As you learned in perfect competition, a perfectly competitive firm in the long run, they also will stop at normal profits. They also will operate at normal profits. So both monopolistically competitive firms and perfectly competitive firms will reach the equilibrium in the long run with normal profits. With normal profits. So both perfectly competitive firms and monopolistically competitive firms will earn normal profits only in the long run. So here it is clear from this graph that monopolistically competitive firms will earn only normal profits in the long run. And here, in this case, where we talk about a perfectly competitive firm, they are also earning normal profits because they are also equilibrium. We has reached the equilibrium at the minimum point of long run average cost. In perfectly competitive firm, this is the marginal revenue or average revenue or the price curve or the demand curve. The demand curve which shows the price. This is the price determined in the market. And this is marginal cost, long run marginal cost. This is long run average cost. Where is the equilibrium? Equilibrium condition, MR equal MC, condition is satisfied here. So at this point, MR is equal to MC. And check whether the second condition is satisfied or not. What is the second condition? The slope of MC should be greater than slope of MR. Slope of MR is what? Slope of MR is 0 because it's a horizontal line. Slope of MC, it's positive. It's positive. So slope of MC is greater than slope of MR. So the second condition is also satisfied. So this is where profit maximizing output level occurs for this perfectly competitive firm. And check the average cost at this output level. Where is the average cost? Average cost is also at the price, at the same level as price. Average cost and price both are the same in this case. So they are earning a normal profit. They are earning a normal profit. And there is another characteristic that we can observe here. What is the characteristic? This firm operates at the minimum point of long run average cost. This firm is operating at the minimum point of long run average cost. So that is one important characteristic here. As we learned from the previous discussion, when the firm is operating at the minimum point of long run average cost, we say that the firm has reached production efficiency, and also the firm is operating at the optimum scale. When a firm is operating at the minimum point of long run average cost, we say that that firm is operating with the optimum scale, and also the firm has reached production efficiency. So that is the long run equilibrium. This is the long run equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm. So what differences we can observe between the long run equilibrium of a perfectly competitive firm and the long run equilibrium of a monopolistically competitive firm? What is the main difference? The perfectly competitive firm is operating at the optimum scale with production efficiency. But when it comes to a monopolistically competitive firm, that firm is not operating at the minimum scale with production efficiency. Instead, this monopolistically competitive firm operates before the optimum scale with some excess capacity. So that is the main difference between these two scenarios. This is for the perfectly competitive firm. This is for a monopolistically competitive firm. Both show the long run equilibrium. In the long run equilibrium, a perfectly competitive firm operates at the optimum scale after reaching the production efficiency. But in a monopolistically competitive firm's case, they are operating before the optimum scale with some excess capacity. That is the main difference. And also there is another difference. I told you that this long run average cost and long run marginal cost, these curves are identical between perfect competition and monopolistic competition. This average cost and this average cost both are the same. This marginal cost and this marginal cost both are the same. What is the other difference you observe? In terms of price, even though the cost curves are identical between perfect competition and monopolistic competition, equilibrium price in monopolistic competition is higher. Equilibrium price in monopolistic competition is higher compared to the equilibrium price in perfect competition. Equilibrium price of this monopolistically competitive firm is higher than the equilibrium price of this perfectly competitive firm. Equilibrium price of this monopolistically competitive firm is higher compared to the equilibrium price of the perfectly competitive firm. That is the other difference. This difference happens. Why? Why does it happen? Because of product differentiation. To introduce product differentiation, to have product differentiation with their product, monopolistically competitive firm has to incur some additional cost. To do product differentiation, of course, they have to incur some additional cost. So this higher price in a monopolistically competitive firm's case is because of product differentiation. This is because of product differentiation. So those are the two differences. One is a monopolistically competitive firm operates before the optimum scale with some excess capacity. When it comes to a perfectly competitive firm, it operates at the optimum scale in the long run. That is the main difference. And also there is another difference. The equilibrium price of the monopolistically competitive firm is higher compared to the equilibrium price of the perfectly competitive firm. And this higher price is because of product differentiation. Because of product differentiation, a monopolistically competitive firm has to incur some additional cost. That's why this price is higher compared to the perfectly competitive firm. Perfectly competitive firm produces a homogeneous product. So they don't have to incur additional costs to differentiate their product from others' products. So that is about the evaluation of monopolistic competition. We evaluated perfectly competitive firm and a monopolistic competitive firm in the long run. In the long run. Got it? That is the end of monopolistic competition. Any questions so far? Do you have any questions? You were technical question answer. That is also project but recording එක බලන්න ඒ කොහොම කළත් දැන් ගිය පාර රෙකෝඩින් එකේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එකේ පැත්තකින් තිබ්බේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ගිය පාර මෙහෙම තිබ්බේ ඇයි දන්නේ අපිට අර අනිත් එක දෙන්නේ නැත්තේ දැන් අර මේ දැන් ඔන්ලයින් කවුරුත් ජොයින් වෙන්නේ නැහැ ඔන්ලයින් එක කෙනා දැන් ෆිසිකල් එක්කෙනෙක් කියන ඔන්ලයින් ජොයින් වෙන එයා දැන් එනවා ෆිසිකල් ඒක නිසා ඒක වෝල්ට් එක වෙන එකක් කරනවා ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඇඩ්මිනිස්ට්‍රේෂන් එකේ මොනවද අහලා දැන් ඉස්සර මෙතන ආයේ එක්ක මොනවද මාත් කරන්නේ IT කෙනෙක් हाँ मुझे क्यों बहुत एक्टर इसमें रिकॉर्डिंग के स्ट्रीमिंग के लिए है करते ही मुझे एक ही यूजर अकाउंट है स्क्रीन में शेयर में स्लाइड देते हर कोई यूजर है मेरे ऊपर ऐसा पेन यूजर के में व्यू में इंटरफेस के फॉर्मेट रिकॉर्ड में ये एक्टिव टू दिए ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ යූසර්ගේ ප්‍රොෆයිල් යූසර්ගේ මේ view එක ෂෙයා කරන්න බැහැ. Did you all submit that individual assignment? I couldn't check it. Is this student here today for an Ransika was submitted. Draft not submitted. Submission is complete कर लेना है. Harshani not submitted. समीर सबमिट कर लेना है. अल्पनी सबमिट कर लेना है. मोहम्मद सबमिट कर लेना है. शिवा सबमिट कर लेना है. कुमारी सबमिट कर लेना है. कुमार पहली ड्राफ्ट कर लगता है सबमिट बटन में प्रेस कर लेना है. Submission is not complete. उमयांग सबमिट कर लेना. सबमिट कर लेना है यानी ड्राफ्ट कैंडिडेट सबमिशन है कंप्लीट में किया है यानी इन्होंने माना. I will reactivate the link so you can make it again. Those who couldn't submit the individual assignment, I extend the time till the midnight of 17 June, that is today is 16. Tomorrow by midnight you can submit it again. And there are some students who haven't completed their submission. They have attempted, but the submission is not complete. Those students are Kumar Ahmed. So there are few students who haven't completed their submission. They just have attempted, but the submission is not completed. They also can redo it. So I reactivated the link. Okay. You didn't attend the online quiz, right? No, no. The girl, you attended the online quiz? No, it was not there. You. What is the What are the attended? Mock exam में कदर attended? Midterm quiz attempt 2 की है ना mock exam mock එක පිටු ඔයගලන්ට familiarize වෙන්න. ඒක instructions වල පැහැදිලි තිබ්බා. Please attend the mock quiz in advance to familiarize yourself with the settings of the online. You might have attempted this, not this. Can you do this today? Your results are not there, that's why. Only one student has attempted. And it's mock attend करो. Mock exam का क्या हमने practice कराना है. Mock का कितना इतना से guidelines किया रहने. अनित्य के एक पैराग्राफ किया ना पता है. This will not be considered for evaluation. आज मैं एक्टिवेट कराना हुआ है क्या अटेंड करना. So there will be a group assignment. Attention, please. There will be a group assignment, and that will be on financial crisis. So I have prepared a small lecture note which consists of only 7 pages. You can have some inputs from this document also for your group assignment. Read this first, and this covers financial crisis and its attributes or its characteristics, and they have discussed characteristics of a financial crisis in relation to the global financial crisis. So when they are explaining the characteristics of a financial crisis, they have taken examples from the global financial crisis which happened during the period from 2008 to 2009. Okay. It discusses causes for the crisis, what happened during the crisis. You all can check. You all can check your slideshow if you using your mobile phone. Do you have your printed copies of the slideshow? So we will stop sharing the slideshow and automatically this screen will be recorded in the full screen. Is that fine? So there won't be any slideshow shared on screen. Instead, we will share this the board on the screen. Okay. Refer to your slideshows with you as printed copies of using your mobile phones. Then this will be recorded. This screen will be recorded. This document discusses causes for the global financial crisis and what happened during the crisis and what policy reactions were taken by the government and relevant authorities. So that is the coverage of this document. And the assignment is to discuss three areas. Causes for the global financial crisis. You can take factors from this document for this. Also, you can refer to other sources as well, but if you want, you can refer to this document to get some idea about causes for the global financial crisis. And the second section should cover economic impact of the global financial crisis on the United States and on the assigned country to your group. So I will assign one single country to each group. So after you completing the group formation sheet, yes. Very few students, only 2 students have filled this. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 students have filled this. So complete this by 16, that means today. Complete this form by today. So you have to form groups of 3 members or 4 members, not 2 members. So this group has to find another one, okay? There should be only 3 members or 4 members, not 2 members. And after you complete this form, I will assign one country to each group. So the second section of your assignment is to evaluate the impact of the global financial crisis on the United States, because the origin of the global financial crisis is the United States. So of course you have to analyze the impact of global financial crisis on the United States economy, and also you have to analyze the impact of the global financial crisis of the economy of the assigned country. In relation to these variables, GDP, unemployment, inflation, public debt, government consumption expenditure, and money supply. So you have to cover at least at least four. You have to cover at least four out of these. So I will revise the guidelines mentioning that. And you can take data from the World Development Indicators published by the World Bank, or you can refer to the International Financial Statistics published by the International Monetary Fund. The link to World Development Indicators is this. World Development Indicators. So this is the interface of World Development Indicators. First, you have to select the country from which you want data. So let's say I want data from Sri Lanka. Then type the name of the country and search here. You can search here. And Sri Lanka comes after the filtering, and then select the country. Let's say you want data from the United States as well. The search, even a part of the country's name is enough. And then the list of countries comes, and select United States from there. And that is how you have to select countries. Now, there are two countries selected. One is Sri Lanka, and the other one is United States. You can see the selected number of countries here. Number of countries selected, 2. And then select the series, data series, or the variable, GDP growth rate, unemployment, inflation. You can select the variables from this list. You can search for them as well. Let's say unemployment. Search for it. There are different unemployment indicators. You have to take the total unemployment published either by the ILO or the national estimates. You can select both, and after downloading the data, you can decide which indicator you will use, whether it is ILO estimates or national estimates. So you take the estimate which has more data. You can choose the indicator which has more data. If ILO has less number of data, you can forget about it. So likewise, you can select the variables from this, that is for series. And then select the time period. If you want, you can download data from all years by pressing here, by pressing this tick mark here. You can select all years. Otherwise, at least select the crisis happened in 2008 and 9. 2008 and 9, and take additional 6 years from the two sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, before and after. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Likewise, you can take additional 6 years after the crisis and before the crisis. So that is also fine. And then you can check this, you can click this apply changes, and then data will come to this screen. You can download data from this download option as an Excel sheet. Then after downloading data from Excel sheet, you have to create charts and figures, basically line charts. So there is a separate document for formatting guidelines as well. It shows how to create a graph, a line chart. You can rely on line charts only because most of the time series data will plot in line charts like this. And graph, you can have two graphs, one for the United States and one for the other country you are assigned to, and explain how these variables behave during the crisis. You can see this is for Estonia. The GDP growth rate has reported a negative value, which is a very sharp decline from the previous year of 2007. In 2008 and 2009, the Estonian economy has reported negative growth rates. And after the crisis, they have recovered. Likewise, you can explain the behavior of these variables. You can explain the behavior of at least 4 variables in relation to the data after drawing graphs like this. After drawing graphs like this for the two countries, United States and the assigned countries. Okay? And then explain. That should be the second part of your assignment or the report. Economic impact of the global financial crisis. Explain how the United States and the assigned country were affected by the global financial crisis in relation to the following macroeconomic variables, at least 4 macroeconomic variables. You can collect data from the World Development Indicators and also from the World Financial Statistics, International Financial Statistics. You can refer to that as the International Financial Statistics. That is. This International Financial Statistics database is very slow. It takes some time to load the data. But the World Development Indicators, we get the data with big data. So you can refer to data tables. You can search data by country or by indicator. So let's say we want government finance data. I have asked about government consumption expenditure, so you can refer to government finance data. You can select government finance option here. And then you can select the country. No, I don't think you can select the country from here. Fine. So data, if you want to search data by country, then that will be possible. Government finance by country. So I choose this option, data by country. And under data by country, I go to government finance. Yes. From here, you can select the country. Let's say Sri Lanka. Then you can annual data. It doesn't show any data. It should show. It doesn't show data for Sri Lanka, but I have downloaded data for Sri Lanka from this website before. I don't know why it doesn't show data for Sri Lanka. maybe I don't assign Sri Lanka to any group because there was no significant impact from global financial crisis on Sri Lanka. So there is nothing to analyze in relation to Sri Lanka. So I don't assign Sri Lanka to group. But anyway, you can refer to this government finance section of the IMF database to get data. You can refer to that website as the International Financial Statistics. And the third section should discuss what policies taken by the United States, no, what policies taken by the assigned country to mitigate the impact of global financial crisis. You have to search for that. You have to search information for that through internet. You can get information for the first section from the document I have uploaded from this. You can get information for the variables from these databases. And you have to self-study about the third section. Policies implemented by the assigned country to mitigate the impact of the global financial crisis. You can search for reports. So if I search if I Google global financial crisis, Sri Lanka, so it will give some information. So BBC has provided some information. You can refer to the Central Bank annual report published during 2008, 9 and 10. This is about the recent crisis, not the global financial crisis. So likewise, global financial crisis and Sri Lanka, a report by Dr. Saman Kalegal. You have to rely on reliable sources, okay? Don't rely on newspaper articles, don't rely on some blog posts. So Institute of Policy Studies from Sri Lanka is a reliable source. Central Bank is a reliable source. Likewise, you have to choose reliable sources when you are collecting data for the third category, third section. You have to search for information from the assigned country, okay? So here I took Sri Lanka as an example. If you are assigned India, you have to search for global financial crisis, India, impact. So you can search with keywords like this. Global financial crisis, reflection on its impact on India. So that is about third section. And you have to upload your report to the LMS. I will create a link for that. And make sure that you finish your uploading, okay? You finish your uploading. For evidence, you can keep some screenshots as evidence that to prove that you have finished uploading, okay? There are some other formatting guidelines as well. You have to use Times New Roman, 12-point size, and I have specified margins, I have specified line spacing, heading, and also you have to add a front cover page and an inner cover page with group members' details. And the date for the presentation will be next week. Because the administration asked me to finish lectures by next week. Do you want some extra time? Yes. Then I will make this 30th. You have 2 weeks. But for presentations, you can submit your report by 30th. You have 2 weeks for that. But you have to make the presentations definitely next week. can you do a small recording through Zoom or through this MS Teams and upload it also? So rather than taking live presentations, you can make a small video clip of 10 minutes and then upload it to your personal Google Drive and then share the link with me on LMS. Is that fine? So there won't be any physical presentations there. Then you can do it on 30th. So both submission of the video and the report will be on 30th. That is about the group assignment. Okay, let's have a break. Come at 10 o'clock. Okay. The next session is on oligopoly. In oligopoly market structures, there is a few number of firms operating. A few number of firms are operating in oligopoly. When you think about industries like digital media, TV channels, we have few number of channels. Audit firms, auditing services, we have few number of firms operating in the industry. Commercial banks, again, few number of sellers, firms. What else? Cement suppliers, a few number of firms. So there are many examples that we can give for the oligopoly. In oligopoly, there are a few number of firms. Operating in the industry. There are a few number of firms with substantial barriers to entry. There are substantial or significant barriers to entry. It's not easy to enter to this industry because relatively few number of firms in complete in such a market. Each can influence the price and hence each affects rival firms. So one important characteristic in oligopoly market structure is their actions are there is an interdependence. There is an interdependence between firms or among firms. There is a few number of firms operating in the industry, so that there is a huge interdependence among firms. If one firm increases price, if one firm decreases its price, other firms also will decrease its price, their price. If one firm increases its price, what other firms will do? Other firms will do nothing. Other firms will keep their price as it is. So what happens? Consumers will move from this firm who increased their price to other firms. Consumers will move. So having known that this firm also will not increase their price. If one firm reduces its price, other firms also will reduce their price. Because if only this firm reduces price, what happens is, if only this firm will reduce the price, what happens is, customers will move from other firms to this firm. So other firms know that fact. Others, they know that fact. Therefore, other firms also will match this price decrease. If this firm, if one single firm increases its price, what will happen is, other firms will keep its price, their price as is. So if only this firm increases its price, the customers will shift to other firms. So this firm know that fact. So this firm will not increase their price. So there is a huge interdependence. An action taken by one firm hugely affects the performance of the other firms. An action taken by one firm hugely affects the performance of the other firms like this. So not only in terms of price, let's say an advertising campaign, one firm introduces a huge advertising campaign. Then what happens? Customers will be attracted to this firm. So other firms observe that this firm has launched a huge advertising campaign. So customers will move from them to this firm because of this huge advertising campaign. So knowing that fact, other firms also will make their advertising campaigns in larger scales. They will also introduce new and huge advertising campaigns. Likewise, one action taken by an oligopoly firm will affect the performance of the other firm, so that actions taken by oligopoly firms are interdependent. Their performance is interdependent. The performance of one oligopoly firm depends on the performance of the other firms. Therefore, actions taken by, if one firm takes an action, other firms will react to that. If one firm takes an action, other firms will immediately take an action. Oligopoly firms may act independently or may coordinate their actions. Yes, oligopoly firms can act independently without any agreement, informal or formal agreements. At the same time, oligopoly firms can coordinate their activities. They can coordinate their activities formally or informally. Also, they can act independently without any coordination. So let's talk about pizza industry, Pizza Hut and Domino's. Are they coordinating their activities? No, there is no any coordination. They act independently. They act independently. But when it comes to the OPEC, Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, they have a formal agreement. They have a formal agreement. And there are informal agreements as well in certain industries. For example, in foreign exchange market in Sri Lanka, which bank controls most of the foreign exchange transactions? BOC. Because most of the foreign remittances come through BOC. So BOC in Sri Lanka is the largest foreign exchange handling bank. Foreign exchange handling bank. So the prices they set, the exchange rates they set, will be followed by other firms as well. Prices set by BOC will be followed by other commercial banks also in Sri Lanka. So there is an informal agreement. There is no any formal or documented agreement. There is an informal agreement. So price leadership is there. Price leadership. If there is a giant company which has the largest market share, we call it the dominating firm. Price set by this firm, price set by the dominating firm, will be followed by the other small firms. Smaller firms who are followers. They will follow this price. Price set by the leader or dominating firm or the leader. The price set by the dominating firm or the leader will be followed by other small firms. So that is a coordination, but informally. Price leadership is an example for informal coordination. OPEC is an organization which has a formal coordination, so it is kind of an cartel. Cartel is there. Cartel agreement. So oligopoly firms can act independently or may coordinate their actions formally or informally. The products of oligopoly market can be differentiated or homogeneous. Products of an oligopoly market can be either differentiated or homogeneous. So when it comes to Pizza Hut and Domino's, their products are differentiated. Their flavor is different, their sizes are different, and their range of products are different, and their customer service is different. Their atmosphere of their outlets are different, so they are differentiated. When it comes to cement, it's almost identical, so it's homogeneous. So cement, it's almost identical. So cement is an example of an identical oligopoly. Pizza Hut, it's an example for differentiated oligopoly. When the products are differentiated, we have differentiated oligopoly. And also, oligopoly markets can produce identical products. So in that case, identical oligopolies are there. Automobile is another example of differentiated oligopoly. Yes, Toyota and other brands, automobile brands, they produce differentiated products. Their products are differentiated. Electrical appliances also, they are different from manufacturer to manufacturer. So there are differentiated oligopolies or identical oligopolies. And also, one type of oligopoly is duopoly. One type of oligopoly is duopoly. Oligopoly is about a market structure where only a few number of firms are operating. And if there is only two firms, and that market structure is called a duopoly. That market structure is called a duopoly. So in Sri Lanka, the bus transportation service has only two suppliers, CTP and private buses. So it's kind of a duopoly where only two firms are operating. So duopoly is a subcategory of oligopoly. There are only a few number of firms operating in the industry. There are huge barriers to entry. So why oligopolies emerge? Why oligopolies emerge? Can you remember the sources of monopoly? Sources of monopoly? The same reasons that cause for the emergence of a monopoly can be considered as the sources of oligopoly. Sources of monopoly, or the reasons for the emergence of a monopoly. Are almost the same as the sources of oligopoly, or reasons for the emergence of an oligopoly. So what were the sources of monopoly? Ownership of strategic resources, or technical knowledge. If the ownership of strategic resources or technical knowledge is only with one firm, then a monopoly will emerge. If the ownership of strategic resources or technical knowledge is with a few firms, then an oligopoly will emerge. For example, automobile company, the technical knowledge is with only a few number of firms. And aluminium industry, the strategic resource of aluminium is with only few number of firms. So if the ownership of a strategic raw materials or resources or technical knowledge is with only a few number of firms, then an oligopoly will emerge. What are the other reasons for monopoly? What else? Can you remember? Go to the slide. Entry barriers, yes. These are called entry barriers. What kind of entry barriers? These are also called as entry barriers. So if you say that sources of monopoly, reasons for the emergence of monopoly, or entry barriers imposed by monopoly, the same list we have present. Government franchise. If government has granted authority to operate only for one firm, then a monopoly will arise. If the franchise is given to a few firms, then an oligopoly will arise. For example, TV channels. Government has the authority to grant permission to operate a TV channel. So if in that case, TV channels will create an oligopoly because government grants permission to only few firms to operate a TV channel. What else? Economies of scale. Economies of scale. Only one firm is enough to cater the entire market. Only one firm is enough to cater the entire market. So one firm is left with the entire market. So that firm produces in large scales. This a single firm produces for the entire market at large scale. So if it is about a single firm, then a monopoly will create. If a few firms are enough to cater the market, cater the entire market, and these few firms operate at large scale, then an oligopoly will emerge. Oligopoly will emerge. What are the other sources? Government franchise, economies of scale, ownership of resources, strategic materials. Patent rights. Patent rights. If patent right is only with one single firm, then there will be a monopoly. If the patent right is with a few firms, then an oligopoly will emerge. Limit pricing. Limit pricing. And if the monopoly charges a very low price so that new entrants will not be able to compete with that lower price. So that will create a monopoly. Limit pricing also will create an oligopoly if the existing firms, if the existing few firms charge a lower price so that new firms can't compete with that lower price. So other firms, new firms will not enter the industry because existing firms are charging a lower price. So new firms will not be able to compete with that lower price. Therefore, new firms will not enter. So only a very few number of firms will remain in the industry. Then it automatically becomes an oligopoly. So these are the reasons for monopoly. If it is about a few firms, then they are the reasons or sources of oligopoly. And these act as barriers to entry. These factors act as barriers to entry. There are barriers to entry. And they pay attention to rivals' firm behavior. Rival means other firms or competitors. They pay attention to other firms' behavior. If I am a firm, if I observe another firm is decreasing their price, I also will decrease the price. So that kind of attention is there over the behavior of other firms. And there are differentiated products as well as there are homogeneous products are also there. So both differentiated and homogeneous products are there in the oligopoly markets. And homogeneous products, yes, of course, they are rare. One example is cement. Cement is an homogeneous product belong to the oligopoly industry, oligopoly market. And they are price setters because they have some control over the price. They have some control over the price because in most of the cases their products are differentiated. Their products are differentiated, so they can charge, they can set their price. They have some control over the price because of product differentiation. Yes. So there is another source, brand loyalty. Yes. So a few firms, there are only few firms operating in the oligopoly market, and also a group of customers are attached to. Sometimes a group of customers are attached to single firms. For example, Domino's and Pizza Hut. There is a customer group who enjoys only Pizza Hut, who enjoys only Domino's. So brand loyalty is also another source of oligopoly. And large capital investment also can act as a source of oligopoly. It requires a huge investment to enter the industry. For example, pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry. There is only a few number of firms because to produce pharmacy items or medical items, it requires a huge cost. It requires a huge initial investment. Because of that, many firms cannot enter the industry. Only a very few firms will be left in the industry who can establish the plants, who can establish the distribution networks, who can establish other laboratories and other facilities with a huge investment. And there are two types of coordination. Sorry. There are two types of oligopolies, collusive and non-collusive. I told you before, oligopoly firms can operate coordinating their actions or independently. Oligopoly firms can operate by coordinating their activities, or they can act independently. They can operate independently. If they coordinate with each other, that is called collusive oligopoly. If they act independently, if they don't coordinate their activities, that is called non-collusive oligopoly. Collusive oligopoly, as I told you earlier, it can come with a formal agreement, like in the case of cartel, or also it can be informal, like in the case of price leadership. Price leadership. So collusive oligopoly and non-collusive oligopoly are two types of oligopolies, and that is based on whether oligopoly firms are coordinating their activities or whether they are not coordinating activities. If they are coordinating their activities, then it belongs to oligopoly, collusive oligopoly. If they are not coordinating their activities, then it's about non-collusive oligopoly. Again, the collusive oligopoly can happen formally or informally. The agreements, the coordination happen to set the price. They decide the price together. They can decide the price together. They can charge a uniform price. They can charge a single price after an agreement. So in cartel and in price leadership, in both cases, they set the price. They set a unique price. And also they can coordinate about the market. They can divide the market. You cater to this market, you cater to this market. But likewise, they can divide the geographical location where they supply their products. So in that sense also they can coordinate their activities. They can set the price, they can decide the price, they can decide the market or divide the market, particularly based on the geographical location, Likewise, they can coordinate the price and market. In non-collusive oligopoly, there is no such agreement, there is no such coordination. And examples are king demand curve model and Kuhnert model. King demand Kuhnert model. So there are four main types of oligopoly. One is cartel, price leadership, king demand curve model, and Kuhnert model. These are the four models that explain the behavior of an oligopoly market. There is no unique model. There is no unique model to explain the behavior of an oligopoly market. There is no unique model to explain the behavior of an oligopoly market because the behavior of oligopoly firms is so complex. Behavior of oligopoly firms is so complex. Therefore, there is no unique model to explain the behavior of an oligopoly market or oligopoly firms. But in other market structures, we had specific models. Like we discussed in monopolistic competition, we drew some graphs and we explained the behavior. But here, there is no such unique model. There is no such unique model. Instead, to explain a specific characteristic, of the oligopoly, we have a specific model. To explain a specific characteristic, we have a specific model. For example, king demand curve model explains the price rigidity in oligopoly. Price rigidity is a characteristic in oligopoly. So to explain that, we use the king demand curve model. To explain the interdependence, another characteristic of oligopoly, we use the Kuhnert model. Likewise, to explain specific characteristics, we use specific models. Price leadership is also another model. It's about the price leadership. Cartel model is to explain how oligopoly firms can coordinate their activities. Likewise, specific models explain specific characteristics of oligopoly. There is no unique model to explain the entire oligopoly market. That is because the behavior of oligopoly firms is so complex. We have different models to explain the behavior of oligopoly. This is a king demand curve model. We simply call it the king demand curve model. Kuhnert model, price leadership model, and cartel agreements. And out of these four, we will focus on king demand curve model, and oligopoly model. Sorry, cartel model. Our focus will be on these two. Price leadership is so complex. To explain it, maybe I want 1.5 hours. So I will skip that part. You want to learn price leadership model? Maybe next time. Price leadership model is complex. So first I have to explain the model with the graph. It will take 1 hour at least. Yes. And then we have to do a calculation-based exercise also for price leadership. That will take another 1 hour. So let's talk about the king demand curve model. If one oligopoly firm, if one oligopolistic firm decreases its price, what others will do? What other oligopolistic firms will do? They also follow this price cut, and they also will reduce their prices. Other firms also will reduce their price. So they are going to be, why do they decrease price? Why do they decrease price? Why do this single oligopoly firm decrease price? To increase its sales. To increase its sales. To increase its sales. So they expect to increase sales by lowering the price. Is it successful? Will it be successful? No, because others also will reduce the price in response to this price cut. Therefore, this firm will not be able to increase its price as this much. But there will be only slight increase. There will be only a very slight increase. Not as expected. They won't be able to increase sales as expected, because others also will decrease the price. Then this increase in sales will not be successful. Only a very slight increase in sales will happen. Therefore, for price decreases, for the decreases in price, for price falls, we say that oligopolistic firms face an inelastic demand. For price cuts or for price falls, they face an inelastic demand. Inelastic means the demand curve is steeper. If they increase the price, if they decrease the price, there will be only a small increase in quantity. There will be only a small increase in quantity, because these price cuts will be followed by other firms also. Since other firms also will reduce their prices, then one individual oligopolistic firm will not be able to increase its sales significantly. But there will be only a limited increase. The increase in demand will be very limited. Let's think about if one oligopolistic firm increases its price rather than decreasing. One oligopolistic firm increases its price. What others will do? Others will not change their price. Other firms will not change their price. They will keep their price as it is. So what happens to the sales or demand of this firm? It will greatly reduce. Quantity demanded will greatly reduce for this single firm, because of this higher price, the customers will move to other firms. So that this single firm will experience a huge fall or huge drop in quantity demanded. So that we say that for price increases, oligopolistic firms face an elastic demand. Even when there is a small increase in price, even when there is a small increase in price, quantity demanded will greatly reduce. Quantity demanded will greatly reduce. So for price increases, the demand they face is relatively elastic. For price decreases or for price cuts, the demand curve they face is relatively inelastic. Relatively inelastic. Specifically, it's price elastic for price inelastic. Price elastic and price inelastic. In King demand curve model, we combine these two scenarios together. In King demand curve model, we combine these two scenarios. We have a relatively elastic demand up to a certain price level, and then relatively inelastic demand. This is the marginal revenue curve corresponds to the relatively elastic demand curve. This is D1, this is D2. This is the marginal revenue 1, that is for the relative elastic demand. And this is marginal revenue 2, which is for the relatively inelastic demand. it is this AB part belongs to the relatively price elastic demand. BC belongs to the price inelastic demand. AD is the marginal revenue, corresponds to the price elastic demand. EF is the marginal revenue, corresponds to the relatively price inelastic demand. And at the king, you see that there is some disconnection. There is some disconnection between MR1 and MR2. MR1 falls from A to B, which corresponds to AB portion of the demand curve, which correspond to AB portion of the demand curve. MR declines correspond to this. And again, marginal revenue declines from E to F. Marginal revenue declines. There is a decline here. Marginal revenue declines from E to F, which is correspond to BC portion of the demand curve. BC portion of the demand curve. And between D and E, there is a discontinuity. So we can connect it using a vertical line. We can connect this D point and E point. We can connect this point D and E using a vertical line like this to combine MR1 and MR2. Demand curve is a king demand curve, and the corresponding MR curve is ADEF. The corresponding marginal revenue curve is ADEF. The demand curve is ABC, and the corresponding marginal revenue curve is ADEF. ADEF. And let's say the marginal cost curve is this. Marginal cost is this. So where is the equilibrium? Again, we have to follow the MR equal MC condition. MR equals MC condition. Don't think about the second condition. Just Just forget about it. Just follow the first condition, MR equals MC condition. Where is it? Where this condition is satisfied? The condition is satisfied here. MR equals to MC at this point. And that point corresponds to this much of output level Q star. This much of an output Q star. So this is the equilibrium output level or profit maximizing output level of this oligopoly firm. This is for an oligopolistic firm. For this oligopolistic firm, this is the output level. Then what is the price? You have to go to the demand curve straight to this Q star. Go to the demand curve straight to this Q star. And the price is found at this king. Price is found at this king. So P star is the price at the king. Because this discontinuity occurs at the king. This discontinuity of the marginal revenue curve occurs at the king. MR cuts MC cuts the MR at this discontinuity, and this is the profit maximizing output level, which is also correspond to this discontinuity. So the equilibrium price also equilibrium price is at the king because of that. This discontinuity in the marginal revenue curve correspond to the king. That means it is straight to the king point. Marginal cost curve cuts the marginal revenue curve somewhere between this discontinuity. Therefore, Q star is also straight to this discontinuity point. And the price is therefore at the king. Price is at the king. And just assume that marginal cost decreases. This is MC1, this is MC2. Marginal cost decreases to MC2. Where is the profit maximizing output level? The new level. Again, see where this condition is satisfied. Still, the profit maximizing output level is at Q star because this is where MR equals MC. So, and this point corresponds to Q star level of output. Still, we are in the same level of profit maximizing output level, even with a lower marginal cost. Q star did not change. Profit maximizing output level is at the same level. Then what is the price? Profit maximizing price or equilibrium price? It is the price correspond to Q star. It is also still at P star. So is there any price change? Is there any output change? No. Profit maximizing output level doesn't change. Is there any price change? No, there is no equilibrium price change. And then think about a higher marginal cost than MC1. Marginal cost has increased. Where the profit maximizing point occurs? Here. MR equal MC. Condition is satisfied here. At this condition, what is the profit maximizing output level? Q star. It's still the same level. And what about the profit maximizing price? The price corresponding to Q star is P star. It's also the same. It's also the same. So is there any change in the price? No. That is what we call as price rigidity. Price rigidity. Price remains the same. Price remains the same. Price is rigid. Price is rigid.